We're live. We're live. Here we go. All right. Welcome to Street TV. My name is Alex Alonso, and I'm here with two guests that were in the trial with me for the People versus Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez. I have Afi Patterson and Goddess Dawn. Is that the way, proper way?
Yes, Goddess Dawn, or Goddess for short.
Okay. So what I want to do is pretty much give the people a recap of this trial so that they'll get a sense and get an idea of what's been going on for those that haven't had a chance to tap in. And let me just make sure this is all going here. Show. Oh, okay. Here we go. There we go. Let me just get this out the way. How do you get that out the way? Okay, we'll just hide that. There we go. All right. So we're gonna start with opening statements. And in the opening statements, they're tag teaming Tory Lanez, meaning that they got two prosecutors, and they started off with Alexander Bott. He gave his opening statement. And I must say that after I heard him say that there's six reasons to find this man guilty: the gun, the apology text, the apology call, and then he said we're gonna have three people gonna say he did it: Megan, Kelsey, and what was the name of the third person that he said was gonna say it?
The third person that said they were gonna say what?
Three people were gonna come to court and say that Tory Lanez was the shooter. One would be Megan,
correct, Kelsey and Justin,
and
Megan's bodyguard, who is now supposedly missing, per the.
But after I heard that opening statement, I was like, "Wow!"
And they also have two attorneys, so like 2 and 2.
So, what y'all think about that intro opening statement? It was pretty powerful.
I mean, I think that the obvious. So the dance bitch, I mean, the way it came, obviously they both started off jealousy, the defense jealousy. It was so dramatic, very dramatic. I feel like, I really feel like this production will be probably airing in next year sometime. We might get a check. Yeah, we might get a check from SAG. I'm just saying something is happening here that's very strange. But yeah, I would say it was, to me, per the audience's faces, I'll say audience and won't say jury, but per the faces that I saw to the left, I saw shock and people reared their heads back, like, whoa. So.
Yeah, and I think the prosecution started off with what people are used to, what they like to see, which is use of audio visual. So, you had like the gunshots, pow, 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 pow. They had arrows going to the house down the street. They just made really good use of audio visual tools. So I think people were looking forward to what was coming next. But I think they did a good job with the presentation.
And then defense opening statement, he pretty much said that
this is a case of jealousy.
This is a case of jealousy, but he pretty much had a rebuttal for every single point that the prosecution stated in their opening. So he kind of balanced it. He said the DNA will be inconclusive. Tory's DNA is not on the gun. And Detective Stogner, he kind of threw Detective Stogner under the bus because he's the lead investigator that is now going through his own personal issues with the LAPD.
The defense has such a boner for Stogner. This guy he's not gonna live. His dying day, I'm saying, even after trial. But the defense was, I don't know. I don't know if they were equally compelling. I would say that they were both interesting. I just knew we had some interesting stuff coming ahead based on those arguments. So that, I just knew that they opened the doors to so many things.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. So I noted that the prosecution mentioned early on that the defendant's DNA could not be excluded. And my note here is weak point. I think that's their number one weak point because we're so used to having DNA wrap everything up. Like that's what we've been accustomed to, and that's their number one weak point. And that's something that I believe the defense is really going to hammer on in their closing arguments. Because I think that's the best thing for them when it comes to their need for reasonable doubt.
So who had the stronger opening statements, prosecutor or defense?
Depends on what you're looking for.
Yep.
Well, who was more convincing?
For you, who is more convincing?
Well, I thought the prosecution was more convincing because they said we're going to get 3 people to come in this courtroom and tell you that Tory Lanez shot that gun. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, you got 3 people that are going to say that? That's pretty strong.
Yes. Also, I think those gunshots, the recording of the gunshots right after the dance bitch, that was like, were those the actual gunshots? I was just like, wow, like what?
Yeah, I think those were the actual gunshots.
Yeah, from like a Ring doorbell. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very, very like, oh my gosh, like gunshots, and they're continuing throughout. Well, we haven't heard them, recently, but I'm just saying that was a lot. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the prosecution was stronger, in my opinion. Yes.
Yeah, I think that I think it just depends on what you're looking for and what you were listening for. But I think I really saw the defense shape what their theory is, which is, of course, how they opened. This is a case about jealousy. I thought he gave like a really, really soft opening. And then I thought he was really very passionate towards the end of his opening. But he was really shaping, I think, the jealousy angle and the intoxication angle. So even if the jealousy angle doesn't work, he was really setting up an intoxication angle. So the identification that Kelsey makes, if she does make it, it wouldn't be really reliable because she was intoxicated. Same thing with Megan. It wouldn't be reliable because she's intoxicated. So it's kind of like a backup defense. So I thought that was smart.
Okay, well, they started their case. Their first witness on Monday was Officer Diaz, Rogelio Diaz. And what I remember about this dude, he wasn't that articulate. He seemed very inexperienced. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this guy was chewing gum the entire time while he was testifying, which is an absolute no-no in the courtroom. In fact, you're not even allowed to chew gum in the courtroom. And he was chewing gum while he was testifying. Do you guys remember way back on Monday, the first cop getting on the stand?
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah, I do. I remember he was frustrating me.
Officer Diaz.
He was definitely frustrating me because he didn't seem to be checked in. I felt like I definitely, I think all of them except for the one who he was kind of seasoned, but the other ones were pretty much rookies at the time of the event or the shooting. So I was kind of like, well, maybe he's just that green, but I think he's the one they told to come back, right? There's one that's coming back.
Well, you're right about him being green because he said he's been a police officer for 3 years. So how long would he have been a cop when this incident happened?
Like a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought it was interesting how the defense brought up the fact that they didn't even put real placards down as evidence markers like they usually always do. The LAPD has these yellow placards with numbers on them. And for whatever reason, I guess we'll never know, they just put little pieces of paper to replace the placards that they didn't have as evidence markers.
And the defense was he's still honing in on that. He was asking somebody who didn't have anything to do. Actually, I think he asked every witness whether they were, whatever their job was, about the placards and about Stogner.
Yeah, he actually asked one of the criminalists, would you expect to see placards placed on a blood trail? And they didn't do that in this case. They didn't even really mark the blood. You would normally see, like I just finished looking at all the crime scene photos of Nipsey Hussle, who got killed here in LA. The guy just had his trial, and they got placards all over the place. Placard for every bullet casing, placard for a blood drop, placard for the clothes that they tore off of him. and they didn't have any placards in this case. But I don't know if it really matters, but I think he's just trying to show that you guys did a really botched up investigation of this case. I think that's the main point that he was trying to make with Officer Lopez.
Yeah, well, the placards are supposed to have be numbered and identify, the sequence of the trail or of the whatever it is they're identifying, where, so that they can tell where it came from, which one was first, what was the direction. And being that they didn't have the actual placards with being numbered, then now he's saying this is an issue which is connected to Stogner. Isn't this part of the reason he's feeling like Stogner's, credibility is at stake, where it's questionable? So he wants to attach him to all of the sloppiness that we're seeing through these testimonies.
Yeah, I remember the defense asking Lopez, how are we supposed to know the direction of blood and the direction she traveled if you guys didn't make any indications of that? And this officer pretty much conceded almost every question that the defense attorney asked him. So I think the defense already won with their very first witness in terms of, if you're scoring this, I think the defense pretty much cross-examined that first witness pretty effectively.
Well, remember, he asked that he was in court, that Officer Diaz, one other morning, and maybe it was the next morning before the jury came in, and he said they were having him come back. I remember that, like probably on Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So can I answer Shay Lopez in your chat?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. She wants to know if any other audio was picked up from the Ring doorbell. I didn't hear any other audio.
Well, we don't know how far away that Ring doorbell is in relation to the actual shooting location.
Yeah, but she's just asking if we heard any other audio.
Yeah.
All I heard was gunshots. That's all I'm going to say.
And she's asking that question because I've been asked this a few times. They want to know, does the Ring audio pick up someone saying "dance bitch"?
Right.
So that type of camera would have to be really close to a person if that was said. But a Ring audio from a block away would pick up on the bullets.
Correct.
Bullet sounds travel far, and we don't have any testimony of the location of this Ring camera, from what I understand. Is that correct?
No, I think in the opening statements, he mentioned where the Ring camera, where it was located.
Okay. All right. So then they went from Lopez to the female officer named Sandra Cabral, and then we learned later this is the one that I guess was rude to Megan at the hospital. But I remember her coming in as a very petite girl, very small. She just seems completely like, harmless person. But we get testimony like she's rude, she was disrespectful, and she testified pretty professionally. You guys remember her?
Definitely.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think that like any even the deputies, the deputies seem like pretty nice and polite. That let us in every day at the trial, but
no, there's one that's not though. There's one that's not.
But there are some that are like pretty. Yeah, there's some that are feisty, but there's some really like sweet and gentle deputies. But I imagine that if they had to arrest someone, they wouldn't be sweet and gentle. So, like, it doesn't matter how she appears on the stand to me. I think like any officer can be aggressive when they need to, because it's going to be a life and death issue. Like they never know when it's a life and death issue.
Well, I would say she came off better than the first Mr. Lopez did. But, she only been a cop for 4 years. So that means at the time of this incident, she has maybe 2 years, or I believe maybe a year and some months experience.
Yeah.
So we got some really green cops testifying on this case.
Not even just testifying, who worked the case. Green cops who worked the case. And Stogner was, I don't remember Stogner's, if they mentioned how long he'd been on or whatever.
Well, he's been around for a while. But I think Cabral's main reason to come to testify is because she's one of the cops that actually pulled them over out of the car.
Correct.
And got them out.
Yeah, we saw her body cam when they searched the vehicle, I believe.
Yeah, but I don't know if anything she said kind of sways towards the defense or prosecution. She was just basically there to provide information, I guess.
She was there. Well, I think she was there to kind of show us. We were seeing the body cam video, so she was there to kind of corroborate the things that we were, to let us know what we were seeing, confirm the things. She's the lady. She's the cop who touched the gun. She had a gloved hand. I want to say that because I heard on another channel someone was saying that the fingerprints or the DNA, excuse me, could have been from one of the cops that touching the gun. I'm like, they wearing gloves, so no.
Okay, did Afi just bounce out? What
Yeah,
happened?
look like she's bounced in and out again.
Okay.
There she is.
I'm here.
There she is.
And we're going to get to Megan's testimony, but before Megan testified, they had two more cops, Officer Lind and Officer Acosta. Officer Lind is now employed with the Chino Police Department, but at the time, he was with the LAPD, and he was one of the ones on the radio call regarding pulling over the car. And Detective Acosta, what was his role? His role was, I believe he was also part of one of these cops.
Detective Acosta did the jail call. He took that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, correct. The jail call.
That's when Tory called Kelsey and said, "I'll never do some like that. I was so effing drunk. What happened? I can't take it back." When he got to when they got to the house, they gave him like 5 shots. I never would have did that stuff if I wasn't so drunk.
Now this is one of the points of evidence that the prosecutor stated in the opening statement. This is the apology call. We're going to call this the apology call. My question is, how much of an apology was this call, and how damaging is this phone call that Tory Lanez made?
I mean, it's because he didn't say, "I'm sorry for shooting Megan." People, even obviously the prosecution can't definitively say that he was apologizing for the shooting. But people, they want to say he was apologizing because he was sleeping with both of them. Why would Tory apologize for sleeping with both of them and say, I've never done that before or something, or blaming the shot, blaming the shots? Everything he's apologizing for is for what happened that night, not for anything outside of, and I believe he shot her. I'm just saying that because I know we're not there, but I'm just saying.
No, I get what you're saying, but it's like, if we could even break down that statement, it's just going to be like one thing. This is like one piece of evidence in the prosecution's, I guess, wall of evidence. So, and I do agree with you, Don. It's specific to that night because he says when he got to the house, they gave him 5 shots. That's that night. I wasn't so drunk. I never would have did that. That's specific to that night. So this is just one piece of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's overwhelmingly convincing, but it has to explain it. You have to be able to explain it, and I don't think it can be explained.
Now, there was a part of this phone call near the end that I never really got clarity on, but he tells Kelsey that Megan is not on the tape. If anything, I'm the only one that will take the backlash. Do you guys remember that part? That was the end of the call.
Yeah.
I needed a little clarity on that, and we never got any.
I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm sorry. If I look at those notes, my hair might explode. So I'm trying to wing it. You know what I mean? It's in my head though, because I go live on my own channel. So,
but I like the part where he just told her, figure out what you got to do to bail me out. And she just was like, okay. Like that, it didn't seem like there was as much tension between two people that went through what they would have went through in this phone call.
I think that, first of all, Tory comes across as a charmer. I feel like Kelsey, in the position she was, because that call took place when she was outside the hospital, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
literally outside the hospital, not outside the hospital room, but outside in the car. But she was probably, defeated, feeling confused. She's not able to go see Megan. Here he is calling. And yeah, that was a lot. I don't know that I don't think she knew it was him because it came from the jail, right? So I was going to say, why would she even pick up the phone? Because if I knew he was calling me after all of that, I wouldn't have been picking up. Matter of fact, he would have been getting blocked at that point. But yeah, it was very like how you go through a whole bunch of stuff and then you're exhausted at the end, like two people windmilling each other, and then they're both tire each other out, and they just kind of sit there and look at each other. Like, yeah, that's how I feel like the air was let out of the balloon at that point.
Mm.
well, I think that phone call that was introduced during Acosta's testimony is definitely a part of the puzzle, like Afi said, for the prosecution to try to point guilt. It's definitely it definitely doesn't help his case that he's apologizing for something he did. He was smart enough not to say anything about the shooting, but I think it's a strong piece of circumstantial evidence. Wouldn't you say that, Afi?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay, now the star of the case. She walks in. Megan P. She walks in. Let's see here. I have her walking in at 11:18. Man, it took an hour before this. 45 minutes. We were scheduled to start at 10:45. They don't start till 11:18, and I'm sure it was all about the logistics of getting her in that courtroom. And I mean, man, there's so many things we can say about her testimony. Where do you guys want to start?
Start at the top.
Yeah, at the top. I was going to say, yeah, definitely.
Well, we learned for the first time that all three of them met each other together at a Rock Nation brunch, and that she encouraged Kelsey to pursue something with Tory.
Okay, so just to add a little bit of color, I think maybe I heard later that she mentioned the Rock Nation. Someone mentioned the Rock Nation brunch. I don't know that Megan did, but I know she said that they had met earlier that year. They got really close. Used to hang out all the time. She said that they were intimate but not exclusive, and that after her mom died, she was looking for someone to fill that void. Let's see. And then she went and started talking about Kelsey and how they were best friends. She had known her since she was a freshman in college. And then she started to cry a bit when she mentioned Kelsey's name. And I noticed that both of them are very emotional about this friendship that's, that's just been broken up. Anyway, and then she just talks about her history with Kelsey and that she hired her as her assistant. But I was thinking this morning, that if I were on the prosecution, I would ask Megan if she had ever seen Kelsey with a gun. Does she know that Kelsey has ever carried a gun? Do you know how she feels about weapons? Have you ever had a fight before? Have you ever had a physical fight before? I think that would be pretty important, especially if you are trying to defeat the defense's theory that Kelsey has a propensity for violence and that she shot at her because she was jealous. And that's something I would have gotten into. But anyway, back to Megan's testimony. She starts talking about what happened that night when she was at Kylie's house and her wig slipping. And then she continues going on into the story where she says that Tory shot me. And she was very firm, very clear on that.
Yeah. She actually said Tory shot me after pretty much all of her statements, no matter if it had to do with Tory shooting her.
He shot me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she also admitted that she lied on the Gayle King show. She admitted that she lied about the glass. She admitted to multiple lies. The prosecution wanted to get in front of that, so they brought it up. And she pretty much admitted to all those lies. We never really got any reasons why, but I guess some of it was about her image.
I think she said when she was on the stand, she lied about having sex with him because she said something. Don, I don't know if you remember the quote. She was like, how could I let somebody how could someone who I share my body with do that to me? So she said she was embarrassed by it.
Yes, she definitely said that. Yeah.
I'm looking at a comment. It said, is it true Megan paid Kelsey's rent for a year? When we heard Kelsey's recorded statement from September 2022, she said that probably right when Megan had gotten out of the hospital, Megan's team told her that she was going to be down for a year. And Kelsey did not have her apartment in Houston anymore because she had flown down to LA and gotten rid of her apartment. She had subletted. So she just said, Kelsey, go ahead and fly back to Houston, find an apartment for a year. I'll pay for it because I'm going to be laid up. I'm going to be down for a year because supposedly she couldn't walk because her feet were so injured. So,
right.
Yes.
Okay. Some of the main things from her testimony was, I think, very important, that she denied any physical altercation with Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
She denied walking backwards when she got out the car. She said she walked forwards, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She said she heard the shots first, then turned around and sees Tory with the gun. But when asked, did you see him fire? She was a little hesitant. So there was a little bit of confusion in the way she was communicating what actually happened. She said she saw him with the gun, but she didn't clearly say, I saw him shooting with the gun. So I don't know if any of you guys picked up on that, but.
Yeah, the word shooting is missing from all the apologies as well as Kelsey's testimony. She never, as a matter of fact, whenever she was asked about Tory, she was real quick to answer, no, I'm not afraid that he's here. I have no problem with him being here. Did we lose Alex? Oh, okay. You had a little thing come up. Your battery low on your thing?
Yeah.
My battery's low.
Yeah, so the word shooting is what's missing from a lot of, Kelsey gave us nothing, but we haven't gotten there yet, I know. So.
But Megan says Tory shot me, but I didn't see him shooting me, if I got that right.
No, she said, hold on. I've got it in my notes.
Okay, because
she did say she saw him. She said
she saw him with the gun. Yeah. But when the defense pressed her, did you see him? Because she couldn't have saw the beginning of the shooting because she said she had to turn around after she heard the first 2 or 3 shots.
Right. And if you remember, there was a great pause after the third shot. And I think that's when she turned around. And that's why she didn't see him shooting, because he stopped. There was a pause.
So that's what she said after the second shot. She said she got out of the car.
She said second. Okay.
Yeah, she described it. She said she got out of the car. She heard Tory say dance B. She said she froze. And she said she froze, and then she described like her feet were down, but she turned around and she said she saw him, and it was like he was higher than normal, like he was standing. I just pictured it as like him standing on the those little panels on the side of an SUV, because he was over the window.
And,
yeah, the panels. You mean the foot panel where you step up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it makes sense because how tall is he? I mean, he's tiny.
Yeah,
he's
the
like
running
child
board.
size. Yeah, the running board.
Running board. Boom, boom, boom.
She's barely taller than. He's barely taller than Kelsey, and we know Kelsey says she's 4'11" when she testified on the second day.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, I heard somebody, they were calling him Tom Thumb. I was like, who are they talking
That's
about?
So mean.
I was listening to something in the background.
That's not very nice.
It is not nice at all. It is not. But my point. This will come up again because there's a question of how he got to the front seat to actually do the shooting, because he was in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But he's tiny. Kids hop all over the place real quick with no problem.
Well, the last thing the prosecutor said to Megan was, did Kelsey have the gun? No. And then she said, how could we? We didn't have no clothes on, barely. Did you see her handle a gun? No. Did Kelsey shoot you? No. Did Jaquan shoot you? No. Who shot you? Tory. and that's how it ended during the direct examination. So I thought that was pretty strong right there. Those last
Yeah,
4 or 5 questions.
Mm.
Go ahead, Goddess.
I was just going to say she was just adamant. I mean, she was also emotional. She was very animated. I mean, I feel like she kind of shook the room at a point because the mic was, on top of her already powerful presence, picked up, it just raised the frequency. So, yeah, her
So
energy.
now,
Mm-hmm.
so now if you're the prosecution and you're building your wall, you've got, we haven't talked about this yet, but we've got the text that Kelsey sent at 4:27 a.m. You have the call, the apology call, as you call it, Alex, and then we have Megan's ID.
That's what the
If you're building
prosecution called it.
case. Yeah.
They called it apology call and apology text.
Mm-hmm.
But when she says that we didn't have any clothes on, how could we have a gun? We later find out that Tory just got on some swim trunks. He's topless. Nobody had on.
Yeah,
None of them had clothes on.
They left Kylie's house apparently in a hurry because she told them to get the F out. But I think that, and obviously that bloody towel that we were privy to seeing, thanks, may have come from, they were in the pool, so like none of them were dressed. Even though Kelsey did say she put on pajamas, she wanted to make sure we knew that.
Yeah, we didn't see her with those pajamas on when she came out of the truck when the police pulled them over.
She said those were pajamas. She said that wasn't a bikini; those were pajamas. So I guess that's how she rolls when she lays it down at night.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that her testimony was pretty powerful on direct, but the defense attorney kind of did a good job at just pointing out all the inconsistent statements, all her lies. Gayle King, and then they played the entire Instagram live video when she had the green hair. Do you remember the Instagram live?
Yeah.
Yes.
When she had the green hair, it shows the real Megan. The real Megan was on that live, as opposed to the very professional presenting Megan that we saw on the stand.
You know what? It struck me, like you're saying, like that's the real Megan. Like what hit me was, my husband says, like, I need to stop saying this, but she is a child. Like she looked like a girl in that video, like a little girl, just a young child, and having to, just the comparison of her, sitting there on that stand with the suit on, fully done in hair and makeup. It made me just sad for the whole situation, because that was a child talking to the world.
Right.
When they played that IG.
It might have been a good strategy to have her come like she was on the IG live. Just like a little around the way girl.
Yeah. Who played that? Did the defense or the prosecution play that?
The defense played that IG live.
Yeah, if that was there, if they thought it was going to be like, I don't know, what do you call it? Like something in the bucket for them. I don't think so. I think the jury was definitely like, oh my God, this is a young child who might not be the most mature, certainly not at the time that she made that,
Yeah. Yeah, they probably did think it was going to be damaging.
Yeah.
Somehow. But I think she was, that emotion in that IG live was very raw.
Yeah. I mean,
and very real.
I thought the defense wanted to show an aggressive side of her that you weren't going to see with her testifying on the stand. She was very polished up there while she was testifying. Although there was a couple times she got a little rambunctious, but I think they showed that Instagram live just to show her cursing, using the N-word, and just talking her ish.
And by the way, that defense attorney saying the N-word in its full glory. And I loved how Meg's like asked him to repeat himself. And then when he did, he didn't even, he started after that. And she said, no, the whole thing.
Yep.
The whole thing.
You picked up on that. Meg was trying to play with that defense attorney, wasn't she?
Look,
I don't think she liked that.
Let me respond. Baker Boys 247, hello, and Beezy. She is grown. She is an adult by like legal standards. Yeah, but to me, they're all kids. Kelsey, Megan, Tory. Like when this happened, they were very young, and I just feel bad for the whole situation. But you know, just from my perspective and, you know, from my experience, I look at them like, man, this is really sad. These are kids. Like, yeah, you're 18, you're not a child. You're 19, you're not a child. You're 21, you're not a child. But you're still a young person with a full life and limited experiences. So that's what I mean. But I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Well, I would say that I wouldn't say she's young. I would say she wasn't well trained as growing up. I don't know if she had a father in her life. I don't know if she was raised by her grandparents or who raised her, but hey, she is a college graduate at this time. She's already achieved a level of success that is almost impossible for most of us to achieve. So she has reached a certain level of maturity that I can't excuse her age for the way she was on that Instagram live. I just think that's just who Megan is when she's in her raw self. And someone just said here, she was 25 years old in 2020. Yeah, if you're 25 years old, there's your brain is even fully developed at 25. Your prefrontal cortex is already in full growth mode. So,
well, how is your full frontal cortex on liquor and whatever else they were doing with Kylie Jenner and Corey Gamble and Odell Beckham?
Yeah, just, you know, nobody would want me on a jury anyway. But also, talent and maturity. Talent doesn't equal maturity. Your bank account doesn't equal maturity. You know, life experiences equal maturity. Life experiences and wisdom.
Well, all that's life experience, including attending college. She was 25. So, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the cross-examination of Megan. We didn't really. Okay, yeah, the Instagram live was played during the cross-examination in the afternoon. And,
guys, might plug this in somehow.
Okay.
Hold on, let me see. Go ahead. I'm just gonna.
I was just saying that the Instagram live was played in the afternoon during cross-examination, and I kind of thought that it made a pretty valid point for the defense. What do you say, Dawn? Were you moved? Which way were you moved towards, the defense or prosecution when they played that live?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm just looking at your chat because Go Season said the women are biased.
Let's try to ignore some of the chat so we can get this through, because
I
know
it comes into play
soon.
But it comes into play with my answer, because I was gonna, you know, the Instagram live. I mean, when you say which one do you think, I mean, the Instagram live spoke for itself, in my opinion. So it's not really a matter of what the defense or prosecution had said about it. I had already been witness to it, and I already definitely have an opinion coming into this. Not to say that I'm rah-rah anybody, because I'm neutral. I don't know these people, but I just know what I believe based on what I know from being in the courtroom, as well as, you know, the other things around it, because there are other things. I don't want to hold you up, but that's just where I go. I stand with the fact that video stood for itself. So I feel the prosecution, you know, the defense, you said, presented it. So I think they gave something to the prosecution with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, let me ask you about the part when the defense attorney was asking her about Tory Lanez was putting out false narratives. He was putting out blogs. He was feeding information to different blogs, and she wasn't able to produce any support of that. But do you think there were actual blogs that Tory had influence on? Because that's something that you really can't prove.
I don't think that was a sticking point.
I mean,
let's
be real. Can I mention the bloggers? Because you know, some people don't like other people.
If they're public bloggers and they're doing their thing, feel free to mention them.
Okay, so DJ Academics, he had made himself a part of the case himself by saying something that he got leaked to him from the defense about a hearing that hadn't even taken place yet. So, like, yeah, there have been things that have been put in the blogs. And what about him hanging out with Carl Crawford and Jay Prince and those people who have beef with Megan? Hashtag protect Black men in the post, in the video, as they're toasting. This is intimidation. Yeah, things being said and done.
Why couldn't Megan actually say this? What you're saying right now, Goddess, That's what we needed to hear.
She's obviously being coached by someone or people, and this is obviously the direction they didn't want to go in. Nobody wants to say 1501 on a court stand. Nobody wants to say Jay Prince. Nobody wants to say, nobody. And this is why I think Kelsey was so affected, is because she's married to 1501, as we saw. Now we see him in the courtroom.
But
Okay.
I don't think that's like, none of that's relevant. Like so it's not even a sticking point. Like she said she couldn't produce anything, and it's not really relevant, which is why like it wasn't really harped on.
Yeah, and she couldn't produce anything, meaning she needed to bring in the actual blog postings and things like that. Who's going to research that?
Yeah, she didn't need to do that.
No, yeah, no.
But that's the reason why she said she came forward in the first place. She said she didn't want to talk about this case at all. But when Tory was putting out false narratives, when he was putting out feeding the blogs, then she had to respond.
But it's still, I guess, no attorney is going to address it because it doesn't matter. Like, it's not really relevant. Like, she can say the reason she came forward. She doesn't need to produce any evidence about it. That's just the reason. So, and she also mentioned Tory made a video chopping off horse legs or something like that. Like, she doesn't need to bring evidence of that and play it for the jurors. Like, that's not the issue. The issue is she's said she was shot and somebody shot her, and Tory's accused of shooting her.
Well, there was a part where the defense attorney asked her, so the only reason you came forward was because Tory Lanez was posting false narratives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess,
you shoot somebody and then you want to put publicly that you didn't do it, and then taunting her at that. She lost her best friend from behind this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly what?
You said that.
The shooting?
Yeah.
Allegedly. Allegedly stands throughout whatever I say. Allegedly, yes. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, I would. So you're saying that, so I guess the point is that she could have just still not said anything, despite the fact that he was taking advantage of the situation that she wasn't speaking. And because he was fearful, he felt like he needed to get in front of it. Maybe he was advised too, because he and the 1501 people apparently are involved in this with him. And I feel like they are helping to, sway some things. I'm going to stop talking about them because this is why I don't show my face.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Well, I want to ask another question. The defense asked her that you didn't want to cooperate. You didn't want to be a part of this. But 4 days later, you actually did go to law enforcement and make a statement. So this would have been on July 16th that she does speak to investigators. But all along, she's saying that she didn't want to be a part of this. And the only reason why she came forward is because Tory was posting blogs. And I think this is important because it goes to her credibility. But if you only came forward because Tory was posting blogs, then why did you come forward on July 16th, just 4 days after the shooting? Was
it voluntary? Or was she called in and she brought her, lawyer with her?
Well,
do we know what was?
It says here, you said you came forward because Tory Lanez started posting, but you spoke to the police 4 days after the shooting. I'm not sure if that was anytime you speak to the police, it's voluntary. They can't force you to speak to them.
No, but you're saying it as if, when I say, if you're so if the DA is considering filing charges on somebody, I don't know if this was going on at the 4 days after, but I know that the shrapnels were called, the law enforcement was alerted by the shrapnel, right? Because of the shrapnel, and they knew about the calls. The police were already on alert here. So at this point, it's like, well, we need to talk to you about this shooting, or we need to.
And we don't know what was said either.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Do we know what was said? She could have just gone in there and said, no, I don't remember. Who knows what she said?
She could have said nothing. She could have said nothing. We don't know what was said.
Yeah, but she should have said that. She didn't say that she didn't. That was not a part of her answer. She didn't say, yeah, I did speak to the cops, but I didn't tell them nothing.
Why would she volunteer that? She didn't have to volunteer that. Like, that's something.
That's the lawyer. That's for the lawyer.
That's not for her to do.
That's the lawyer's job.
Any other thoughts on Megan's testimony?
No.
No. I know that she created a whole mess all day in the hallways, and I was not pleased that day. It was very traumatic.
Well, the last thing I'll say is that she said she walked a very short distance. During the testimony, they calculated that distance would have been about 8 feet, and that it would have just took a couple of seconds to walk 8 feet, and that's how fast the shooting happened. And I think that's important because the way she's telling it, the shooting had to be immediate. You get out the car, you walk a few feet, boom, boom, boom.
Well, yeah, because she got out the front right passenger, right? That's when she got out the front right passenger. So by the time she got out and started walking, he somehow magically ended up in the front right passenger, according to Kelsey at least, and was hanging out the front passenger door and shooting. So he didn't even bother to get out to shoot. He was leaning out the car to shoot.
Remember when Kelsey testified, she did finally admit on cross-examination that Megan got out, came back to her side first, and then started to walk forward. Remember that on cross-examination?
All right, say that one more time.
She said there was a bump. She said there was a bump between her.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
So that goes a little bit against part of her testimony when she said she got out the car, walked 8 feet straight, and then heard the shooting. So it was I thought it was an interesting part because it contradicts a little bit of what Kelsey's saying, and it just adds more confusion. It really does.
So Kelsey said, from my notes, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember my live last night. But I remember Kelsey saying that when she was exiting the car, she said, when you get out of a car, your head is down, you're facing downward. So I was getting out the car. I was looking down. She said half her body was still out near the left side of the rear passenger. So she hadn't gone anywhere hardly. It had to have happened that fast. She was still getting out the car.
Unless Megan and Kelsey got into a verbal confrontation that would have lasted a few more seconds.
Out when Megan was outside and Kelsey was still near the door.
Well, apparently they both got out the car at the same time. Because remember, this is where Tory says to Quan, pull the car over and let these bitches out.
Right. But how did they get out the car at the same time if Megan had already walked past where she was? She said that when she was getting out the car, she looked downward, and that's when she heard the shooting first. That's why she didn't know who shot, she says, because she was looking down. She was still getting out of the car. From what that sounds like, Megan had already started walking away.
According to Megan.
Well, no, because Kelsey said after the second or third shot, she looked back at us like a deer in headlights.
You're referring to the audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on when she testified on cross-examination,
I don't know, was it just the audio?
It was the audio, she said.
Yeah,
that was the audio.
Okay,
when she testified, she told it a little different.
Okay.
But you know what? I know Afi got some things to do. I think we should continue this because we got like 240 people in here. Do you guys want to tap in maybe in a couple hours from now?
I've got a few more minutes.
You got a few more minutes?
Just a few more minutes. Let's go.
Okay.
Because we're almost through.
Well, I think there's like a couple of versions of how they got out the car. Actually, I think I counted. There's 3 different versions of how they got out the car, and this is right before the shooting. So this is very important. How they got out the car, which way did they walk, and how much time had transpired before they heard the shots. And,
I'm not even looking at her. I'm not looking at Kelsey's testimony. I'm only listening to
the audio.
The audio.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm only listening to the audio.
Yes.
Seriously.
You trust the audio over her testimony?
Yes. Absolutely. Except, everything that she said that was consistent with the audio. Yeah. And I promise you the jurors trusted too. She was consistent. She was fluid. She was confident. She was emotional. Completely different from what she was in person.
Yep.
She was not pressured. And I think what was so interesting and John, let me know if you agree, when the detective who interviewed her, the way the defense made it seem was like she was being interviewed by who was the detective he asked about? Detective Strogner or something?
Mm-hmm.
Stogner.
He asked if Detective Stogner was present when she gave the testimony. But no, when there was a very, her voice sounded like Miss Chalet, the woman who interviewed her. She was
Jody
just
Little.
she was just very calm, very meek and mild. And, when they did the introductions, everybody sounded like they were at peace, calm, and she just like dove into her statement. So I think that is way more reliable.
I don't think we can rule out that she had plenty of time to prepare to give that audio statement. She had 2 years to prepare to give that audio statement. And because she waited so long, I don't think that 100% of that audio can be just considered truthful and reliable.
Well, you can say she had 2 years and 3 months to prepare for her testimony. So, you're going to believe the one you want to believe. So
yeah, but the testimony, here's the difference. Yeah. The testimony, she wasn't being cross-examined in that room when she gave the audio statement. She wasn't being challenged. She was pretty much flowing. She was free flowing the story. Much different when you're in court.
Exactly what happens when you experience something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got to plug in my laptop.
Let's look at the chat. Hey, guys.
Yes. Let's see what y'all talking about. I know there's something about
opulent one. Hello.
Offie, Queen Offie. I think Tory shot at Meg when she was walking away being goofy. But didn't mean to hit her. Kelsey ain't telling because Meg's scandalous. Well, Meg, she's not looking good.
She said in court. No, all that matters is not what she said in court. The whole reason, guys, we were allowed, ordinarily we wouldn't be allowed to hear that statement from September 14th. The only reason we were allowed was because she made prior consistent and inconsistent statements. So they played the whole 80 minutes of it. Also, think about it with the whole immunity situation. So she pled the fifth and she got immunity, right? So everybody's like, oh my God, she pled the fifth. She pled the fifth. Yeah, she pled the fifth. She got immunity. And when she testified, she didn't say anything that would incriminate her. Don, does that make sense?
It's not full immunity either. She is subject, to perjury charges.
But if she said, if there was something, like if she did something that could incriminate her, she would have said it. We didn't hear anything.
Well, apparently the judge knows whatever she's holding back from everybody else, the judge and her attorney.
If she was holding back, she would have had, you hold back because you would have had to say it during your testimony. She got immunity. So if there was something to hold back, she had the freedom to say it. There was nothing that was said that would have incriminated her.
Then why did she keep repeating, I want to protect myself. I want to protect myself from self-incrimination? No, she said, I want to protect myself. And then she may have again said she wants to protect herself from self-incrimination in another context as well. But I think a lot of times with witnesses, I was saying this the other day, prosecutors, they want witnesses to testify because they want to put somebody away, but they don't understand that same witness has to go back and they have to be welcomed by their community. They have to live, they have to feel safe. And it's challenging for witnesses. And I think when she said, her circumstances have changed. She's got a child. She's got a husband or spouse, so circumstances have changed for her.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, but her spouse is a part of mob ties. I'm telling you guys, you cannot overlook this revelation. Because remember, we were asking.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, well, let me tell you. Mob ties. And it has to do with the fact that Justin is now supposedly missing.
Jay Prince. Well, we can't say he's missing until the trial. Until we go to court on Monday and Tuesday and he doesn't show up, then we'll say he's avoiding the subpoena.
Well, this supposedly came from Megan's attorney too. So yeah, we definitely are going to wait for court. But because I'm going to tell you this, Friday right when they were ending court, after the jury had already gone out and they were still discussing some things, The prosecution, I'm thinking they mentioned it to the defense attorney or either among themselves, but they mentioned bodily attachments. Okay. You know, you're an attorney, Afi. What you know, because one of my subscribers messaged me about the bodily, because at the time I didn't know. I was like, well, they were talking about bodily attachments, and then they ended the session.
Oh my goodness. I'm just looking at you guys in the comments.
Well, wait, let me just say this. The bodily attachments, this is somebody, one of my subscribers, she messaged about that. She said, Meg's missing. This is, of course, because people are now saying that Justin, Megan's bodyguard, has flown the coop. He's in the air. He's in the wind. Okay. So, and also Quan. Where's Quan? The driver.
We might see Quan next week.
Okay. If the prosecution is supposed to rest on Monday, then he needs to be there on Monday. Everybody we're looking for needs to be there on Monday. But this is what my subscriber said about bodily attachments, which was mentioned by the prosecution at the end of court on Friday.
I know, but
I'm sorry.
If Quan is a defense witness and the Judge David Hereford said this case will most likely go to Tuesday, you got to also.
Quan? I thought Quan was the prosecution witness. Didn't they mention him in their opening?
No,
they said we have the driver, or they said they had Justin.
They said Justin. They never said anything about bringing Quan in.
Okay. So Justin, excuse me.
Yeah, they said Justin.
If Justin is not missing, he will be there on Monday. But this is what this lady, I guess, I don't know who she's my one of my subs. Okay, she said Meg's missing bodyguard is what was being discussed yesterday when you mentioned a writ of bodily attachment. It is specifically issued by the court to commit or detail a person of civil contempt. It's usually issued by a judge from the clerk of the court, and then it's served by the U.S. Marshal Service.
Okay, you're reading something. You're reading a definition that's federal. This is this case is being tried by the people of the state of California, and all body attachment is just a warrant. It's a warrant for somebody to be taken into custody.
That's somebody who doesn't want to testify, right?
Not necessarily doesn't want to testify, but somebody you don't, they might be hesitant about it. But so my experiences with attachments is like an officer will go and pick somebody up and hold them in a cell until the day of trial. And it's a pretty drastic thing to do. So that's my experience with it.
Well, like I said, I heard that come literally out of the prosecutor's mouth after we, right before we left court. So
now I got a quick question on what the prosecutor said. Did he say that they're going to release the body attachment?
No. That's all I heard was body attachment.
Okay. I heard the word.
I didn't know what it was. I just mentioned it. And all I'm saying is I mentioned it because I was reading my notes to my chat. That's all. And then I got that response back in a comment because I guess they heard what I said. And because I said, I don't know what that is. But I just wanted to, finish with the note that I had. That's it.
All right. And I'm just like, I'm really enjoying these chats.
Well, I wish I should have just turned them off so we could.
No, this is really good. This is good stuff.
Huh?
You want to ignore your chat?
Well, no, I don't want to ignore them. I wanted the people to get a synopsis of all the witnesses and not deal with.
Then let's keep rolling. No, I am not biased. I do not want Tory to burn. My God, I'm trying to be as objective as possible and let people understand both sides.
Well, I wanted to talk about Kelsey Harris's testimony, but I don't think we have enough time because I know you got to step out soon.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I want to do Kelsey Harris's testimony and then her audio maybe later tonight, later this evening, if you guys are still available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just text me.
I've got a what is it, like the Nutcracker to see. I'm going
outside. I'm going
outside. I'm going to my daughter's, my goddaughter's Nutcracker play or something like that. So let's keep going if you can.
Yeah, I mean, we could just talk about some of the issues. I don't think we gave Megan's testimony enough attention, and I had one point here that I wanted to bring up about it, and it's back to this issue that we didn't really resolve, is that how they got out the car and when the shooting happened is very important because we're getting three different versions, and I know Afi, you're excluding Kelsey's testimony, because I guess it wasn't. She just didn't answer any questions. But she did say in that testimony that she lied to the investigators in September. So I guess you're dismissing that.
She said she didn't say she lied on every part, right? I have the notes. It's
She said some of it. Some of it was lies.
Yeah, so which part of it? Like nobody's gonna parse like 80 minutes of September 2022 and her testimony. Like people don't have time or the energy to do that. Like her 3 hours of testimony or her statement that we got, they're going to pick one and they're going to go with that version of it. They're not going to say, oh, okay, she was telling the truth on this part at the testimony. She was telling the truth on this part in September. Like nobody's going to do that. They're going to figure out when she was being most truthful, take that and run with it. That's why I say I'm only paying attention to September 2022 because that's when she was calm. That's when she was fluid. That's when she felt, in my opinion, confident and safe. She had her spouse there. She had her 2 witnesses there. She had the detective there. That was a really mild-mannered woman. She felt her most safe. And that's something that she talks about, being protected and feeling safe.
Okay.
So that's the one I'm going with.
All right, well.
And it's easy. People like things, just like water. We're going to follow the path of least resistance. So that's what I'm going with. And I'm saying that because that's what jurors are going to go with. Whatever's easy. Because they've got so much information that they have to consume and parse through.
Okay. Well, back to Megan's testimony about the shooting, I think it's very important to note that she said that her back was turned during the beginning of it, and she didn't see how Tory got into position. I think that's important because it's the same thing that Kelsey said in that audio interview.
Even Miss Patterson, shame on you, G-Mac.
Oh, come on. You know what? I'm not even looking at these comments. Ignore the comments, please. Ignore the comments. We can answer some of them at the end. What I was saying was, when Megan testified, she said, I don't know how Tory Lanez got into that front seat position, which is very consistent with what Kelsey said in the audio interview. So I think you can find a lot of consistent statements in Megan's testimony and Kelsey's interview, some consistent statements, and maybe try to figure out what really happened. If you do it like that, it doesn't look so good for Tory.
It doesn't look so good for Tory for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I agree with that as well.
I'm just saying, if you believe the audio statement, and you take some of Megan's statements, there's some consistency. There's some consistency between Kelsey's audio interview in September and Megan's testimony the other day. And
I'll let me throw something at you, which might be interesting. I was thinking about this. There are consistencies, but Megan may have also been given Kelsey's statement. Because it's evidence. It's discovery. So she could have looked at her statement, gone through it.
Yeah. You're saying that she may have been privy to a transcript of that September audio before she came to court.
She may have been.
Yeah.
Just like it's evidence. It's discovery. Not discovery, but it's evidence. It's exculpatory evidence. So just like the defense has it, the prosecution has it. They may have gone over it with her.
Did the investigators ever sit Megan down in 2022 about this case?
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I don't think that came up.
But back to the part when they were exiting the car, she said there's only 2 ways, excuse me, that Tory Lanez could have got into that front seat. That was either him crossing over from the back to the front, or getting out the car, of course. And according to Kelsey, she thinks that Tory kind of just went from the back seat and got to the front seat. But then he also has to get the gun, wherever the gun is at, and then shoot. So
where's the gun? Where was the gun?
Well, if you remember, Kelsey said that when he threatened to shoot her in the car, when he said, nigga, N-word, I'll shoot you. And he reached towards the console, but he didn't pull anything. So the gun might have been in the console because he was sitting in the front seat after the shooting. After the shooting, he went and sat in the front seat of the car of the SUV. He could have just thrown it in the middle console, or at some point, or maybe that's where he got it from. Excuse me.
I guess no one really knows where the gun is. Probably Quan. Quan probably knows everything about that gun. But then after that part, they asked her. She says she's seen him on the passenger side. Did he cross Kelsey or go outside the car? And she says, I didn't see how he got into the front seat. I did see him shoot. Oh, I guess she says, but I did see him shoot me. So
I think he definitely hopped from the back to the front. I don't think he got out because he was hanging out of the car when he was shooting. So, and he's, like I said, tiny. So he could have, like a child, children can bounce around. I think, that he just hopped from the back to the front with no problem, like a superhero of some sort with devil ears like he likes to wear. But yeah, no, he definitely didn't run around because he would have been outside of the SUV at that point.
So you're basically saying he has a childlike body.
I look at him in court sitting there with his hand, his head resting in his hand and doodling or whatever. He actually laughed yesterday at the defense's DNA expert in air quotes. But yeah, I guess everybody laughed at him though. All right. But yeah, I was like, oh, Tory's laughing. Okay. Because he looks like a child from the back looking at him like a sad child.
All right, let's move on, guys.
What happened here?
No, nothing.
Let's move on.
Let's go.
Well,
she's like, I have packages to send.
I wanted to ask about when Megan went to the hospital, because she said that she lied about getting shot when the police were pulling them over because she was scared that maybe they would get shot, they would get killed. But then after she's in the ambulance, after everyone's in custody, after they got the gun, then she could have said, okay, this is what really happened. But she didn't do it in the ambulance. And then when she's at the hospital, she's in a safe environment. She could have said, okay, this is what happened. She didn't do it in the hospital. And she never did it at any point when she was in a safe environment and had the opportunity to say what really happened.
Well, I don't know how safe she felt at the hospital because she said she didn't know. She knew that something about the doctors giving the police if she told them the truth, that the doctors would be giving the information to the police.
Yeah, a lot of people, I guess, like relate to certain things according to what they see on TV. I know that like police officers, according to what I see on TV, if they know anything about a gunshot wound, they immediately notify the police. Like, right. Am I just wrong with that?
No, that's
Alex. Like, am I wrong with that? or if I tell the police or if a gunshot victim comes in, don't the doctors automatically notify the police? According to you, Alex.
In the state of California, the doctors are supposed to notify the police of gunshots for sure. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's reasonable. For her or anybody else, if she didn't want to talk about the gunshot, she didn't feel safe. I wouldn't tell I don't think, anybody would tell the police either. Would tell the doctors either, especially if the police officer that you lied to is still there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
would you agree with that? I'll do the defense attorney. Would you agree? You'd agree with me, right?
Who,
yeah?
me?
Yeah, you'd agree with me, right? That what she did made sense?
No, well, her initial fear was about getting shot while they had a gun in the car and the police and the helicopters were flying over. Once that passed, she cannot say, I still had the fear.
What do you mean she cannot?
No, she's saying no.
She thought that there was a possibility that the police would open fire on them because they had a gun in the car. I get that part. I'm completely on board with her on that part. But they were all taken into custody. The cops have the gun. Everyone is in handcuffs. So where's the fear now?
I think it goes back to, well, first of all, I think her attorney, the defense attorney asked, and she said she had already lied. The same police officer was still there. Let me see. I've got it
Yeah,
in my
she said since she already said I stepped on glass, I just wrote it out. I just
and
kept the
not only
story.
that, it just goes to the point that she made earlier when she said that she wasn't going to press charges or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know what was in her head. I just know what she said, but I'm thinking like maybe that's why. Like she didn't want to get in trouble and she didn't want anybody to get in trouble. I know she said that. She didn't want anybody to get shot either. I know she said that. But I mean, I don't know what was in her head.
Well,
I just know that if I didn't want to tell somebody that I had been shot, tell the police I had been shot, I wouldn't tell the doctor anything about a bullet.
Well, then that's for another reason. Then you can't say I didn't tell the cops I got shot because I was scared they were going to kill me. You in the hospital now.
I mean, but you have to think about emotions. Maybe she's still in that space. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that she just automatically feels good now.
Well, let me ask you this then.
She just got shot.
Okay, let me ask you this then. We'll fast forward. When Kelsey was at the hospital trying to visit Megan, Kelsey's team was telling Megan, she stepped on glass. So that everyone is rolling with this stepped on glass narrative, including Rock Nation.
Alex.
Well, Rock Nation wants this to go away, in my opinion. So,
you got to head out.
Yeah, I got to head out.
Okay, you'll be tied up for the rest of the evening, correct?
Yes, Nutcracker and packages. But I want to say thank you so much for having me on.
Maybe we could do it again tomorrow, if you're available.
Yeah, you guys rock, and your audience rocks as well.
You rock.
Let everyone know where they can find you, or I'll put your link. I'll put your link in the description of this video if they want to tap in with you.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Right.
Bye, John.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Figure out how to log off.
All right, there she goes. Afi's gone. All right, we'll chop it up for a few more minutes. But I was just saying, so you're with the school of thought that she definitely had a legitimate fear, and it makes sense to you that she kept on riding the glass narrative.
Yes, because I feel like for her to have, so the testimony that we got from the surgeon is that, well, actually, no, that was the question I had. Actually, I'm glad I brought that up. The surgeon, did he testify that he did not speak to Megan that night?
Yeah, because that's correct.
It was my understanding that she told when the discussion of surgery came up, that's when she decided to tell the truth. Because, obviously if they're going to do surgery, she needs to tell them what's going on, what she's thinking about her. Now she's thinking about herself and her physicality and her health.
Well, the surgeon said that after he did the surgery, patched her up, and she got into her room, he never talked to her again.
So who did she tell the truth to because there were supposedly two doctors, and the second one was supposedly the one she told the actual truth to. I
don't recall her telling the truth that she got shot.
So the bullet fragments that they got out of her feet that have been identified as such and not glass. So the police at this point should be involved. I mean, because now they know that this was a shooting.
Well, the doctor knew all along these were bullets. The point was she never admitted that she got shot when she was in the hospital.
That seems a little, I don't know. I know that there was, I don't know where the information came from that she talked to that second doctor when surgery came up. I think it was in an article.
Yeah.
But if he testified that didn't happen, that's kind of weird to me.
It never happened. She never told.
The conversation never happened.
No, in fact, when she was questioned on cross-examination, the defense attorney said, okay, you're in the hospital now. You're not on Hollywood Boulevard with a gun in the car. You don't have to worry about the police opening fire on you guys. Now you're in a hospital. Why didn't you tell the truth then? And that's when she said, well, I already started lying, so I just continued with the lie.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to finish this up. Maybe we can do another one tomorrow, because we didn't really get into Kelsey's testimony, and we didn't really get into the audio. And I'm going to bring Jasmine in on this panel, and if you're available, we'll do another one tomorrow.
Yeah, just let me know what time, and I will let you know.
Okay, I'll send you an email.
Sundays are a little light, so
Okay, I'll send you an email. This one is already went 1 hour and 14 minutes. And
well, I appreciate you having me on very much.
Now you have a YouTube platform. Just let everyone know where they can tap in and check out your updates, because you're doing daily updates as well.
Yes, absolutely. So my channel is Goddess Dawn Speaks, and I do give daily recaps from my experience in the courtroom, from the lobby before we even go in until the end of the session of the day. So
okay,
I appreciate you again, though, and yeah, just let me know about tomorrow.
And I'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description of this video. And thanks for tapping in, and hopefully we'll do another one tomorrow.
All right, here, same here. See you
All
then.
right, there
Bye.
she goes. Bye-bye. Goddess Dawn Speaks. And what y'all think? These are people that were actually in the courtroom as I was. So I'll answer a couple of questions and I'm gonna get off here. I'll stay on here for 5 more minutes and then I'm gonna tap out. So let's see. Megan lying about stepping on glass was proven to be a lie, and Kelsey's amnesia was proven to be an act. Okay. Miss Patterson, fine as hell. You gotta love a woman that keeps that natural hair. I'm a big fan of natural hair. I'm a big fan of everything natural, just to keep it real. Everything natural. None of that fake stuff is appealing to me at all. Does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? Well, tomorrow we're going to try to do another panel. We're going to wrap up Megan's testimony. Tomorrow, Sunday, we're going to wrap up Megan's testimony. Then we'll talk about Kelsey Harris's testimony. And then we'll talk about Kelsey Harris's audio file that played. And then we'll talk about the lack of DNA on the gun. And that came in through 2 different experts. 2 DNA experts testified. And that should be an interesting panel tomorrow. We need a camera in court. Everyone has different accounts. When does the trial end? The judge said he's expected for this trial to end on Tuesday. So the prosecution, I don't know if the prosecution has one more witness. I think they're trying to get Edison. I think he's trying to get Edison. I think yesterday I may have stated they're trying to get the stylist, Megan's stylist. Edison is Megan's security. I think they're trying to get Quan. That's 3. And they think they're trying to get Detective Stogner. That's 4. Now, Edison would be a prosecution witness. The stylist, I'm not sure who would want to call the stylist. I'm not sure who wants to call Quan. I think the defense wants to call Quan, but I'm not 100% on that. And Stogner, the defense definitely wants to call Stogner. He's the LAPD lead detective. And so far, that's 4 more witnesses. Am I missing any? Oh, Sean Kelly. Sean Kelly would be, thanks for that, SCB. Sean Kelly is he lives on Nicholas Canyon Road, right in front of where all of this happened. That's going to be a defense witness. So, yeah. My hairline. Hey, but believe it or not, this hairline is the way my hairline has always been. It's always been like that when I cut it short. When I cut my hair short, I've always had this exact hairline. So I'm not really losing in the front. I'm losing in the back, but I'm not losing in the front. And why talk about another man's bodily parts? Who said that? The balcony witness. I believe that's Sean Kelly. So yeah, that's 5 witnesses. So we'll see. We'll see. We might not get any of these witnesses. Tory doesn't need to take the stand. Absolutely not. You think Tory should take the stand? He doesn't need to take the stand. Why would you want to put Tory Lanez on the stand? All the witnesses have already spoke enough. There's nothing he could add. What's he gonna say? There's nothing he could add. All he's gonna say, I didn't shoot her. What's he gonna say? Oh, both them women were clearly biased. Hey, it is what it is, man. I think that we strive for objectivity, but objectivity is almost impossible because you're shaped by the way you grew up, your family dynamics, your education, your income. All of that introduces biases. So no matter how hard we strive to be objective, I believe, and I haven't seen anyone that can really be completely objective. I think objectivity is something that is extremely difficult to obtain. You try. Now, some people try harder to be objective. That's the key, to go out your way to be objective. Like I work for defense attorneys all the time, so everyone looks at me as pro-defense, But when I covered the Eric Holder trial, I said there's no way that Eric Holder is gonna. There's no way he's gonna get out of this. And I even said the 9 minutes that it took him from that conversation to where he ended up shooting Nipsey is going to make it almost impossible to get a manslaughter. I can't make sense of this whole debacle, Alex. Lies on top of lies, a gumbo of confusion. I mean, that's exactly what it is, man. And I just did a video breakdown of Kelsey Harris's audio earlier today, so you can tap in and check that out. How long can Tory get banned from America? I don't know exactly what the procedure is between United States and Canada, but some people can be banned for 10 years. Some people could be banned for 15 and 20. You remember the rapper Shine, the guy that was involved in the shootout with Diddy and J-Lo back in 99, 2000? He got banned from the United States for like a decade, but he's back now. So I'll say at least 10 years. That LA jury is going to convict Tory Lanez. What's up, Matthew? We just had a small panel with people that were in the courtroom with me. I tapped in with other people that were in the courtroom, and we did a 1 hour and about 10-minute panel on we covered day 1, day 2. We mostly just covered day 1 and day 2 because Megan Thee Stallion testified on a Tuesday, which would have been the second day. And then we're going to try to do another panel tomorrow where we'll cover day 3, which was Kelsey Harris, and we'll also cover her audio that was played in court. If Megan loses, what could they charge her with? Well, Megan's not on trial, but if Tory is found not guilty and they find out that Megan lied to investigators or lied on the stand, they could possibly hit her with a perjury charge. I mean, we know she lied to the police when she said she stepped on glass, but because she's the victim in this case, they tend to be a little bit understanding, more flexible. But if it turns out that Tory is not guilty, they might come back for Megan. You know, LAPD is unforgiving. But I was actually surprised that the LAPD never charged Will Smith for slapping Chris Rock. And does anyone know what venue that took place? Was that in Beverly Hills or was that in Los Angeles? What venue did the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap take place? Because it's almost impossible to slap somebody on live television and not get charged with an assault. Not even a minor assault, you know, a misdemeanor assault. I believe it happened in Los Angeles, but all right, people. I appreciate everybody tapping in. We'll do another panel tomorrow, Sunday. We'll talk about day 3, 4, and 5. We're going to cover Kelsey Harris's testimony plus the audio they played in court. And then we'll also touch on the DNA or lack thereof DNA evidence that also came into court under 2 experts testified to that. So we'll wrap it up here. And thanks for all your support.